Welcome to Chapter 11. In Chapter 11, we're going to introduce the accounting cycle and review the use of classes. The accounting cycle should be familiar to most of the accounting students. And another concept that we're going to go over in this chapter is GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. But I do want to call your attention to a couple items in the chapter. You're going to work with cash flows. I have opened up a cash flow forecast. Needs to be refreshed, but cash flow forecast, very useful tool. I'm a big believer in cash flows. This statement of cash flows, cash flow forecast. For example, in this example, the cash flow forecast, you can see accounts receivable. You began the period with 220. You finished the period at 1,434, so that's an increase, but along the way you've got an increase, and you have these are net numbers. So bottom line, you get to the inflows, and so you can see that there's an inflow of 50,000, inflow of 12,000, and then you're basically bleeding cash in June, July, and August for a net change in your cash of 25,561. You began with negative 20,000 and you finish with 25,005. This is your cash on hand at the end of the period, cash on hand at the beginning of the period, and these are the various items that are affecting cash along the way. The other item that we're going to work with in this chapter is something called classes. Now, this is just a regular, should be a regular profit and loss statement, but what I've done is I've changed the columns. Instead of just being by year, saying okay, here we've got the two columns by year, I changed it to report the columns by class. This is very handy when you want to look at different segments of a business, or say you've got one business that has, it's a rental and it has multiple rental properties. But in this, I can see that, let's see, emergency had a gross profit of 124, routine scheduled 195. Big problem that they have here is that the unclassified, this is telling me that there's no class assigned to this column. It's handy for year-end cleanup when I go into an account. I have a book of accounts, and for example, I see this 4,600. QuickBooks, once again, anytime you have that magnifying glass, it's very handy. I can go into this and say, okay, May rent, well, it should actually be overhead. Save close. Yes, I've made a change. Yes, I want to refresh. Save, change this back. Go again, overhead, save close. Yes, refresh. Now you can see that in my unclassified there's nothing left. Everything's moved over to overhead under the rent expense. So I mean, it's very easy to clean up a set of books. Once you receive them, you go through and you take all these unclassified and move them over to where they should be. There is a safeguard in here too. I should show you. When someone was keying this in, June rent, let's just say I delete this. I take out the June rent, or take out the class, and if I can ever get this out, there we go. I clear out the class and I say save close. Yep, I want to save the change. Whoever entered this got this message when they're keying in the information. One or more items have not been assigned a class. Do you want to save it anyways? They said yes. So they overrode the safeguard in the system, and then you can see that my 2,300 went back over to the unclassified from the overhead section where I had reclassified it. Pretty straightforward section for the accountants. For the business majors, the accounting cycle and GAAP might pose a little bit of a challenge, but it is all important information that you need to know. Good luck with the chapter.